I think the human mind is pretty amazing. Have you ever watched one of those retro commercials, maybe of a movie or a show that you saw when you were growing up, and it just took you back and you remember so fondly that TV show or something? For me, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. So for me, every day after school at 4 o'clock was the Transformers cartoon. And right after that was G.I. Joe. But Transformers was my jam. And I had all the toys and everything. And I remember it very fondly. And every now and then I'll see on YouTube or something a retro commercial for the cartoon. I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'll pull it up and I'll watch an old episode. And then you realize that the nostalgia was more important to you than the actual show. Because when you look at it, you're like, it's not horrible, but it's not great. But the memories is what you remember. And I often find myself doing that with food too. On a proper human diet, one of the things we want to do is kind of help you, if you have a sugar addiction, a carb addiction, to help you to break that so you're not in bondage to something that you eat, that you're in charge of what you put into your body, and that the signals, the voices of all that sugar and carbs aren't, the tail's not wagging the dog. And that happens to me sometimes when I'm like, wow, I remember, my mom used to make this dish, or, my grandmother would make this, or, whatever. My wife, my goodness, she would make the most amazing homemade chef's kiss cheesecake. It was so good. And for me to turn down a cheesecake, that I never did that before. And every now and then I'll get a hankering. Now, I grew up in the mid-Atlantic, but I've been in the South for 30 years, so I'm allowed to say hankering. Every now and then I'll get a hankering for, wow, let me get a piece of that cheesecake, just a little bite, not even the whole thing, just a bite. Or, an oatmeal raisin cookie, it's been months, a year, or whatever. Let me get a little bite of that. And I'll get a little bite and it'll be like, the nostalgia of that is more important to me than the actual taste, because it's now they're too sweet, because you train yourself to get over that stuff, and then you realize, I don't need it, I just wanted it, and now I don't even need it, nor do I really want it. I want the emotional feeling of it, but as far as the nutrients for your body, my taste buds have changed, and over a period of time, several weeks, yours can too, following a proper human diet that's very nutrient dense, giving your body what it needs, not necessarily what it craves. And if you're on a standard American diet, you just got this influx of carbs and sugars, and what does that do? It gives you quick energy, and then it's gone, and your body is saying, I need more, I need more. You get some more quick energy, and it's gone, and quick energy, and it's gone. You have this vicious cycle of carbs, of sugar, of glucose. And what we need to do with a measured approach is to break that cycle, let your body change its fuel source from sugars and glucose to amino acids, fatty acids, and ketones. And that happens over a period of 6-8 weeks maybe of careful selection of what you're eating. And eventually I found I didn't have a taste for it anymore. So what does that mean? What's that got to do with cartoons? Just like I said, the emotional attraction to it, the memories of the smells at grandma's house, the fresh baked, tray of cookies, all that. Yes, it's the emotional part of it that I crave, and I cherish memories like that. But remember, it's the emotional part of it that you're craving, not so much the sugar after you've gotten keto adapted. So just make sure that then, when you do eat, that you're not eating your emotions, you're eating for nutrition. And emotional eating, that's a whole other ball of wax that we'll have to unpack at some other time. But what are some things that you do that make you think of, they take you back in time, and they take you back to an emotional feeling? Maybe it's, the apple pie or whatever. What are some of those things that might be emotional triggers to getting you onto a sugar craving and making you go that route? Because there's ways you can combat that too. There's a physiological dietary end of that, and there's also the side of the emotional side, the habit forming, and you can adjust every bit of that. So what are some things that you do to overcome that? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it.